Welcome, everybody. So, several noticeable changes to the Office 365 Groups feature in regards to the underlying SharePoint functionality has just magically appeared within my tenant this past weekend. And I quickly want to run through what these changes are and how they affect you. Now, I thought that these changes were rather interesting given the fact that SharePoint 2016 hit the RTM milestone several weeks ago, and there's an anticipated May 4th event, the Future of SharePoint virtual conference. The information about SharePoint 26 RTM and that virtual event can actually be found on the Office 365 March 14th, 2016 blog post entitled SharePoint 2016 RTM and the Future of SharePoint event. Register today if you have not already. Okay, let's move on. Let's examine the Office 365 group changes that I noticed. I actually noticed 4 different changes. So let's walk through those. The first change that I noticed was the Alert Me button. Now, that's something that a lot of people have actually been asking for. And what this allows you to do is to alert on changes within the file repository at a folder level or at an individual file level. So for instance, if I wanted to monitor the document repository here for my IT group, and I wanted to be notified by email for any changes or revisions to any of the documents here, I can choose the Alert Me button. I can provide a title, provide where I want these alerts to be sent to, the delivery method. You notice I can get a text message. How cool is that? And then I can be granular with the change type that I want to be alerted on. So do I want to be notified of all changes? That may be a little too much, but there may be specific documents, for instance, that I want to know when changes occur. Maybe something like a phone list or some sort of important procedure, for instance. I can then choose when these alerts are triggered. So if anything changes or a specific person changed a document, and then do I want these notifications immediately or do I want a daily summary or a weekly summary? You have those options. So if I go ahead and click OK, going to be notified that I created an Alert Me action. And if I check my inbox, I'll actually see a notification message telling me of the action that I just took. Now, what happens if I actually go in and make a change? If I go in and make a change on a document, I get notified as well that that change has been made. So for instance, maybe I want to set up an alert around a specific document. I want to know anytime there's any change or anybody has made a change to the document. Now, if I go in real quick and make a change to the document, you'll see that I'll actually get notified of that change. So you'll see here that I have the email showing me that I created an alert for the document repository, and then you'll also see a message that the on-call contact list document has changed. So quick overview there of how you can utilize the Alert Me functionality within your own organization. Now, the second change that I noticed is that there's a new menu here, All Documents, that allows you to change your view. So I can actually modify the view that I have right now, or I can choose to create a custom view. So if I go ahead and click Modify, you'll see that many of the features that you know and love from SharePoint are now surfaced right in the file repository. Now, the third change that I noticed was the ability to pin files or folders to the view. In the document repository here, if there's specific files that need to be reviewed or maybe referenced frequently by members of this group, I can actually pin them to the document view as you see here. So they're quickly accessible no matter where they are in the folder structure or hierarchy for my group members to come in and click on and consume the information. Now, the thing that I've noticed here is that you can only pin 3 different files. So I've pinned 3 files here. Now, if I try to pin a 4th one, it's going to come up and tell me that no more items can be pinned. Now, if I want to remove one of these documents from being pinned here, I can just right-click it and say unpin. Also, I can actually change the sort order here of how documents pin. So if I want the on-call contact list to be moved over to the left, to essentially be the first document pinned, I can right-click it and say Edit Pin, Move Left. So I think the ability to pin documents based on the folder level here is a great value add because let's face it, there's always documents that we reference every day, multiple times a day. Now, the 4th change that I noticed is the ability to set permissions on files and folders within the file repository here. So where this really comes into play in my mind is if you notice that this group is a public group. So that means that anybody else in my company that may be browsing groups that are of interest to them can click on the IT group and see all the information that's contained in that group. They can join the group as well. Now, what if I don't want to actually close membership to this group? I could have made it private when I created the group, but there's valuable information here for everybody. But there's specific information, maybe crit-sit procedures that has sensitive information around vendor contact lists and escalation procedures. Now I can remove the ability for casual observers of the group or even members of the group that may not have the requirement to access this information. I can set permissions based on access requirements. Now, in order to do that, in this specific use case, let's use the crit-sit procedures folder. Maybe there's only several users within this group membership that needs access to be able to see the information contained here. If I choose to share, and then I choose shared with and advanced, I'm going to see all the permissions that users have to this folder. You'll notice IT visitors. They have read access. So in this use case, let's say I want to remove that access and I only want members and owners to be able to have the rights to see this information. I can go ahead and select Edit Permissions. It's going to dump me out. I have to go back in, and then I can select IT visitors and say Remove User Permissions. And that's it. I've successfully set the permissions for this folder. Now, if I want to go back in and take a look, I'll see that the casual observer no longer has access to this folder. So this is a fantastic use case now for open groups that may not have been set to private initially. Because remember, you can't actually change a public group back to private. Now, the fact that these changes have been snuck into Office 365 tenants really underscores to me the importance of having at least one tenant with first release turned on. Now, you do have the first release feature turned on for at least some users, right? Remember, a lot of people forget that it's not an all or nothing proposition anymore with turning first release on. You can actually turn first release on for a specific subset of users and key on group membership, for instance. Now, I'm making the assumption here that this is all in preparation for that May 4th SharePoint 2016 virtual event. Who knows? Maybe there's more goodies around Office 365 groups that are going to be released then. One thing's for certain, though. I'm going to be on that May 4th call, and I'm going to be listening for any future groups-related updates. So now that you know some of the cool new features that are being released and are in the pipeline, go ahead, test them out. See if they enhance your Office 365 group's value proposition within your own environment. I know the Alert Me, the pins, and the permissions certainly do for me.